Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears, where legal does not mean safe. And we last left off with my Miata passing smog, which means that now my car is street legal in the state of California, which is amazing. I can finally drive this thing, but I really, really shouldn't. Well, the car goes really well. The motor feels really smooth. It might need a little bit of timing, tweaking here and there to get going, but it passed smog. I now have the sticker on it, the license plate. It is insured. It has everything that a car needs to legally operate on the road. It also stops, which I hear is pretty important for automobiles. With this new set of brakes I put on, three new calipers, and brake pads all around, new brake lines all the way around, new brake master cylinder. I cleaned up the brake booster thing, and it all works really, really well. So it goes and it stops. What else does a car need to do? Well, it needs to steer and it needs to handle. Currently, it does steer technically, but I have a pretty gnarly leak out of the steering rack. We're going to take a look at it, and I may actually be able to fix it. And in terms of handling, well, that's where this car is trying to kill me. It handles terribly. If I go over a bump, it'll bounce 4, 5, 6 times, and I just don't want to go anywhere with this car. I don't want to. And unfortunately, my money is tied up in other investments at this time. I cannot sink money into this car yet. This car is kind of going to sit around in my wasteland over here and just kind of do nothing for a while. I'll start it up, I'll drive it around the block, blah, 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 just so that it doesn't, fall apart on me. But it's not going to be on the road for at least a few months. But we're going to take a look at the steering, see if we can tighten up whatever is causing it to leak. We're also going to have a little bit of fun. So, as you know, in my last video, I had to replace the catalytic converter in order to pass emissions. And I thought, well, since I'm going to throw out this old cat anyway, I'm kind of curious as to see how it sounds with a hollowed out cat. It's probably going to sound horrible, but there's only one way to find out. I'm sure I could just look at other YouTube videos and find out for myself, but I really, there's really nothing like trying it for yourself. Obviously, since that is a very illegal mod, and I will never knowingly post videos of me doing anything illegal, we're not going to go driving with this. We're just going to start it up on my private property, and maybe we'll drive it up and down the driveway. Again, private property. You can operate a motor vehicle in any condition on private property. So before we get started, we want to get a baseline. We want to know what this car sounds like just the way it is, in the condition that it's in. I'm not entirely thrilled with the exhaust note and the way it sounds from inside the car, because mainly because I believe that there is a leak in the muffler. So this is something I'm eventually going to be doing more work on. So maybe we'll do another comparison later on down the line. But let's get right to it. In my last video, I also mentioned that little cooling hose. I have already replaced that. And I discovered that it was that bracket that was not properly holding the belt. So I have moved it, and it is, let's see if I can get down in there. I can't really. I have moved it, and it is out of the way of the belt. So we don't have any rubbing. And here is the line that I took out. You see, it cut a heck of a knot out of that hose. So I'm really glad I caught that because this car would have left me stranded. This is going to be stupid. Honestly, it kind of sounds the same. I can smell the difference because now this car smells like my 73 Maverick, but it sounds the same. It might sound a little bit more raspy as it winds up, but once we get this car warmed up, we'll see how that goes. Well, that was stupid. Really didn't change the sound of the car very much at all. At least nothing worth writing home about. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and put the new catalytic converter back on there and put the old one in the trash. I don't know. I'll keep the old one around just in case I turn this into a race car where it's off-road only, because I don't know. I guess it's just the stock motor just doesn't make enough power for the catalytic converter to really be a restriction. It really doesn't. In fact, I've actually seen a couple of dyno tests of other cars, not Miatas, but of other cars, where they've actually gained a couple of foot-pounds of torque from having a catalytic converter. So I think this car, as it is, at the very least, would be no difference having a catalytic converter. Again, I'm not going to take this out on the road. I don't care enough to dyno test this. I just wanted to see how it sounds, and it kind of sounds the same. In fact, it sounds, in my opinion, slightly better with the catalytic converter. What really makes this difference is this awful exhaust. This exhaust just doesn't sound good to begin with, and I think it has a hole in it because the drone inside the car is awful. So we're going to be getting a new catback exhaust on this, probably a new header. That will make all the difference in the world, especially when I do something crazy to this car.